Okay, that's unfortunate. I've disconnected from the lobby. Invite me back. Appreciate it. See lobby. All right. Here we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 6th round of this season here in RSF1 at the Algarve International Circuit, better known as Portimao, for the Portuguese Grand Prix here today. I am your host, Days Freak, the American voice of RSF1, alongside my co-commentator, Galaxy Connor. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Not a great track for me around here, but is for other drivers, and it recently added to the game, so it should be a good one.
Exactly right. On the recently added, another track that was just recently added today was the Shanghai International Circuit. So who knows? Maybe we'll have that track on for next seasons.
Yeah, if it's in the draw.
Well, next season, I'm pretty sure we're doing a full schedule. Right, first man out of the pits is the Red Bull of Crazy Fish. I was in a party with him and a few others, and the consensus for that party is that they all feel at least moderately comfortable here at Portimao.
I haven't done any time trial or anything yet, so don't know how I am around this yet.
Well, I did a half distance race with Crazy Fish and a couple other drivers in this division, and I feel I did a pretty good job. ERS management is not crazy high. You can't really save a lot of ERS, so if you use your ERS, you're gonna have to make sure you don't use too much of it all in one lap, or you're gonna take you quite a while to get back up to where you want to be. Next man out of the pits is the Ferrari of Steffi. And this week's race at Portimao, we will have this special livery that Ferrari ran at Monza, celebrating 100 years of Monza, the Temple of Speed. I believe that's another track we have missing on this season's schedule.
Yeah.
Quite unfortunate to see how many tracks we'll be missing on this season. Yes, Monza is not on the schedule, and neither is Imola. So Ferrari this season will not have a home race. They will be in hostile territory no matter where they go. Got both the Alfa Romeos out. Matty and Diggles is, I believe, yes, he has spun out of turn 3. Or I should say turn 4.
I'm not familiar with this track, so I don't really know what turns are which. So I wouldn't be great at riding on board for finish or qualifying lap.
Crazy Fish through sector 1. It's a 22.5 down into the turn 6, turn 5 hairpin. Yep. Now into the turn 8 Samsung corner. Does a good job. No oversteer, about half on the throttle. Now downhill. This part of the track is like a roller coaster. Go uphill, immediately downhill. It's blind for turn 9. Now through turn 11, turn 12, the end of sector 2 is a 52.9 for the Red Bull. Now heading into the penultimate corner. Going to take this down in second gear, up to 5th immediately on the exit. Now through the sweeping downhill right-hander. Full throttle the whole way through. To the line, opens up the DRS. It's going to be an 18.4 to start the session. Very good lap from the Red Bull of Crazy Fish. Next driver across the line will be Steffi. And to the end of sector 2, 22.3 through the first sector. Purple sector there for him. 53.1 in the middle sector, though. Losing a little bit of time, and we got another yellow again For an Alfa Romeo, it may be Sink Diggles.
And
I don't know how much confidence he's got on this track. I don't know if he's done the practice. I don't know much about Sink Diggles at all.
but we do have
For the
Grundy.
final corner.
Grundy joining us this week after an absence last week, giving Stidgen his championship rival a bit of an advantage in the last race, gaining a few points on him, but Grundy's still leading the championship going into this race.
Well, no, Stidgen. Remember, Stidgen crashed out. I'm pretty sure last race.
Did he?
I think he did, if I remember correctly. Someone in the chat let us know. Steffi puts up an 18.7 on his lap. Next man across the line is, I believe, not Diggles, because he's invalidated, and I think Matty must have invalidated too. Showed the time of 1:23, but it did not show up on the leaderboard, so he will go again. One of the great things about Portimao in this year's game is that the tire deg is pretty low, so you can run 2 quali laps if you want. Oh, and Matty's around. Matty around in turn 5 hairpin. Got to be very careful on the exit on the throttle. Go just a little over and you're gone. Poea coming across the line. What can she do? It's an 18.6 flat. It's a front row provisionally for the Red Bulls. Pretty good to start off for them.
That is right. My electric went off last week. I didn't get to see the end of the race, so I didn't know where people came.
Basie Q coming out of the final quarter now, up the hill to the line. It's an 18.8. Before Valache, it's a 25.8. Probably a warm-up lap for the Haas. He will go again. Got both the AlphaTauris now coming out of the pits of Cornish and Grunty. Grunty, even after missing out on last week's race, still has a significant lead in the championship.
Grunty on his outlap.
And he is got to find a guy who's currently doing a hot lap, though. Next man across the line will be Tornado. He'll be starting his hot lap. Giggles. Not sure. It looks like he's got enough time to do another lap. Not to mention enough fuel, but he's going to come in.
Slithering on the lap. He's back there.
Also coming in.
Tornado. He's on the lap as well.
Stidgen, the Flying Dutchman of Div 2. He's going to start his hot lap. Let's ride along with him. Coming down this very long pit straight. Downhill into turn 1. He's down to 5th gear for this. Barely touches the inside curb, outside curb, inside curbs. Entry, exit of turn 1 and turn 2. Now coming through turn 4, about 60% on the throttle in 5th gear. Opens the DRS for the 2nd DRS straight, heading into the turn 5 hairpin. Down to 2nd gear for the Dutchman. It shifts up to 3rd, and he's early on the power, but it does not lose the rear end. Turn 6 now. Now turn 7. Turn 8, Samsung corner down to 2nd gear for this one. Immediately upshifting up to 4th. He's on the power, downhill into turn 9. It's full throttle through here. Turn 10, riding the outside, getting a bit of a wide berth. And he's good. Turn 12, 52.6 through the first 2 sectors. Turn 13, 3rd gear, about 40% on the throttle. Penultimate corner, turn 14, 4th gear. He's already full throttle halfway through the corner. Now through the final corner, full throttle through here, of course. Very tight line. Up the hill, opens the DRS to the line. It's an 18.3 and it's pole. It's pole position provisionally.
And Breezy beats it with an 18.2 though.
Breezy, wow. 18.2 from the Aston Martin.
Willem as well,
His teammate coming across the line.
Dutchman.
And the other of the Flying Dutchmen. And Cornish. Woohoo! Cornish absolutely smashing the time. It's coming across the line now. It's P4 for Grunty.
Well,
it's an 18.3.
up to the line as well. He's only P6 with an 18.5.
Just under an 18.5.
Camel.
Looks like the hot laps are finally starting to come in halfway through this first qualifying session. We've got Maddie diving into the pits, and it looks like Valache will do the same. So we move on to Genghis Logan, Stigen's teammate. He's coming through the final corner now. What can he do? Up the hill, opens the DRS to the line. It's a 19.7. He might be looking for another lap, but he does not have the DRS for it. He will have to back off.
Across the line.
No, he's invalidated. Doesn't matter. So we move to Corky. He's starting his hot lap now. Jay Slee is still in the turn 3 right now. Stigen has already retired in the pits. He is already satisfied with the lap he's got. And after a lap like that, I cannot blame him. I did not see very many faults in that lap. If really any at all. Stigen will probably look back on this stream and think the days is out of his mind, but an 18.3 is something I would definitely kill to have an 18.3. That is an absolutely monstrous lap time to have. Got Willem going about half throttle in the final corner. He's definitely going to be pulling in here. That's what he does. Macy Q might be on his out. No, he's not on his out lap. He's going to be putting up another hot lap here. Yellow in sector 3. It's Fora Williams. It's Genghis getting out of the way of some people.
Who else is still up? Jason Lee coming around up to the line now as well. Can he get out of the bottom 5?
He is.
He does, goes P8.
He does. And Corky right behind him with P6 and 18.4. Grunty. No, not Grunty. Who was it? Eagle. Eagle with an 18.3. Putting him P3.
Got Camel round.
Oh, that it is. Wasn't sure who it was in the 3rd sector, but it's Camo. Slither and Me looks to be putting up another lap here.
Camo's looking in trouble here. He still hasn't set a lap.
Either Sink Diggles, but he's coming to the line now. It's a 4-minute lap. Nope, never mind. It's
validated.
Okay, that was interesting. It didn't show an invalidation, but here we are.
That's the way it was for Camo last lap for me. I was confused when you said his lap was invalidated.
That's what it showed on my screen. Game might be a little bugged on that front. Tornado now coming out of the final corner to the line, opens up the DRS, and it's an 18.2. It's P3. It's a 2nd row lockout for Alpine provisionally. 6 minutes and counting in this session. Who will be the bottom 5? Who will be the top 5? And who will be the ones in the middle? Or I should say bottom 4. There's only 19 drivers here. There was 20 when I first loaded in, but doesn't seem to be the case this time. We have got an Red Bull on an out lap, and we've got Crazy Fish coming in now. So next man across the line will not be that Alfa Romeo either.
Slithering. He's
not him. It's Sink Diggles. Sink Diggles, 19th out of 19. Coming out of the provisional corner now. Oh, penultimate corner now. Loses the rear end a little bit. Coming through the final corner now.
It's a very slow lap.
Yeah, it's definitely not what the Alfa Romeo was looking for. We've got Slither and Me puts up 18.9. It's P14. He's safe for now.
Camel
Gonna have to find a lot more time, though, if he wants to be safe. Shane has joined, so we're going to have a full grid tonight, folks.
He will be
Shane may have had to restart his Xbox or his internet or something. Breezy, in the meanwhile, has retired from the session. He is quite satisfied with the 18.2 he's put up. I think now he's just hoping that his teammate can do the same.
Camel's in the final sector now to start his probably
got Grunty pulling into the pits. We've got a Ferrari pulling into the pits. It's Steffi. 56.4 for the Aston of Camo through the first 2 sectors. It's a little bit off, about a 2nd off of pole in the first 2 sectors. How much time can he find in this final sector? To the line, it's at a 49 for a moment there. It's a 22.9. It's seems to be invalidated, though. I genuinely confused by that. Oh, Camo broke one of the breaker boards. Tornado has retired from the session. He is quite satisfied with the 18-2 that he's put up.
Shane, will he be able to get out for a lap?
Grunty has retired from the session in P6.
Camo would be very disappointed.
Cornish has now retired from the session.
Very disappointed for Camo if he's out of Q, so he will need to improve a lot here, as he still hasn't set a lap actually.
It's a 52-8 through the first two sectors. Eagle is retired. Your top 6 are all done for the session. Frankly, I don't see any of them being in danger here.
So he's coming on the final corner now. Camo up to the line. Will it get him out of the bottom 5? I think it will. And it does with a 1:18.3. It goes P7.
Camo is in a much better spot now. I think he can take a deep sigh of relief after that lap. Next man across the line will be Sink Diggles. He's invalidated, though. He's got one more shot to do this. It's either now or never for the Alfa Romeo of Sink Diggles. He's already got 3 laps of wear on those tires, though, so he will not be nearly as fast as he wants to be. Next man across the line is actually Poea, so it's the next woman across the line. She gets P2. Ties Breezy's time. It's P2 for the Red Bull.
As the track is improving, the laps
7-6. Crazy Fish and Corky have both retired as well.
Track temperatures seem to be ramping up at the minute.
It's not just the temperature, it's the rubber on the track, which will give it a lot more grip. Genghis Logan out of the final corner now. He's coming to the line. What can he put up? It's a 19.5. It's still P18, though. He's going to have to find at least another half a second if he wants to be over half a second if he wants to be in the top 15. He's going to have to find 7/10. I don't know where he's going to find it, but he's going to have to find it somewhere. Shane starting his hot lap now. Right on board with a Ferrari. Through turn 1, it's about not nearly pushing it as hard as some of the others have been. Turn 2, very clean, very simple. Turn 3, down to second gear. Turn 4, fourth gear. Oh, he got on the brakes, had to correct the car a bit. That could hurt him. 23-0 in the first sector. And he's got traffic not far in front of him. Also on a hot lap. He's got to hope that he can put up a better lap than the guy in front of him. Next man across the line is Maddie. Up the hill, opens the DRS into the line. It's a 119.1 P7. I don't know if that's a glitch. I'm pretty sure. Next man will be Genghis.
Shane as well in the final sector now. He will be looking to get out of the bottom 5 after a late join to the session. He gets out of the pits in the last minute possible, but he's coming in the final corner now. Will be
in the pits. Genghis did not improve on that lap, but he crossed the line in time. Macy Q 18.5. He improves.
Shane's out of qualifying.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough ERS to improve on the lap time. Steffi is done for the session. Next man across the line will be Sink Diggles. Diggles is going to have to find over a second on this lap. He only improved about 4.5 tenths to the line. It's a 19.899. It's not enough. It's P20. So unfortunately, the Alfa Romeo of Sink Diggles is out of the session.
Shane's still going for another lap. He seems to be pushing.
Matty, in the meantime, is pushing. He wants to at least get one of the 2 Alfa Romeos out of Q1 to the line. It's P2. He takes P2. It's an 18.205. More than good enough to get him into Q2.
Shane is not improving on his lap time at the minute. He's a 10th down.
Genghis Logan currently is the next man across the line. What can he do? Ooh, loses the rear end a little bit. Through the final corner, what can the Williams do? Oh, he dives into the pits. So we go to Shane. Shane's invalidated. Or at least it says that he's invalidated on my screen. He improves, but it is an invalidation. And that is Q1 over. Your bottom... I didn't even get a chance to see him. Okay. So, your bottom 5 for this session. XRL, Valache, Slytherin, me, Genghis, Logan, RSF1, Shane, Sink, Diggles. An unfortunate start for the day to for these 5. Hopefully they can make it up in the race. Your 15 that make it through: Cornish, Maddie, Poea, Breezy, Tornado, Eagle, Stygian, Grunty, J Sleek, Camo, Crazy Fish, Quirky Turtle, Willem, V Deshore, Macy Q, and Steffi.
Yeah, an exciting Q1 session there, with it very close near the end of the bottom 5. Unfortunately for Shane, without the ERS charge, didn't get to improve much and did invalidate his last lap, so he's out of qualifying. Unfortunate for him. Would have been looking to get higher up the grid, but had technical issues, I think. Camo setting late laps as well. After his poor start of the qualifying session, he set a lap time near the end of the session, got him out of the bottom 5.
Hi, bud. Commentating. Oh. Sink, Diggles, and Shane have both left the session.
Might probably join back for the race, as they have like half an hour. Probably do some practice.
Yeah. First man out of the pits is a Williams. It is Stygian.
That is a smart play from Shane, leaving the lobby to do some practice and then join back for the race.
Well, I don't know if you're technically allowed to do that, but they may not have left to do some practice. They may have just left because the game kicked them out. It's very possible that that's the case.
Stygian out early for his outlap. We don't usually see Stygian coming out early. Usually he does come out after the rest of the pack.
No, that's not true. No, Stygian usually is one of the first guys out in Q2. Q3 maybe not, but Q1 and Q2 he is usually one of the first 5 or 6 people to come out of the pits. Why he does, I'm not sure. I don't like to come out early. I like to come out as late as I can. Personally, as Stygian comes out of the final corner, he'll be starting his hot lap.
He goes into turn 1, down to 5th gear. Very fast corner that one is. Now Brent here all the way down into 3rd gear. Doesn't quite packs flat out down here this straight now. As he goes now into chicane, the hairpin, sorry. Flat out through these couple of corners as well for Stygian, as let me get the lap data up now to see what sector times he has set, but he's now entering 3rd sector, and when he comes around this corner, there's going to be flat out.
2-8 through the first 2 sectors.
They're coming around the final corner, flat out up to the line. We'll put him on provisional pole, will because he is the first person to set a lap time, but we'll keep him up there. So 18.4, not as good as his Q1 session, but I believe it might be on used soft tyres for Stygian. As Quark said, Shane probably left because he had to update his game and didn't get much practice in. But Crazy
Yeah.
Fish beats his
18-0.
18-0. Quirky.
18-4 flat for Quirky. Next man across the line will be Eagle coming through the penultimate corner now. It's a 52-8 through the first two sectors for the Alpine driver. And down the final corner to the line. What's he going to do? It's an 18-3. It's almost a full tenth ahead of Quirky. P2 for the Alpine. Next one across the line, Jace Lee. To the line, it's an 18-7. It's P5 for the McLaren. Matty. It's an 18-9. He's P6. Willem, it's an 18-5. It's P5 in front of his teammate in Tornado with an absolutely stomping lap already.
17-6. That's the fastest lap we've seen by a mile. They're definitely on fresh soft tires.
Oh, we got a spin. It's for Steffi. Good news is he was way off the track. It did not hurt lap times. Good news for him is that he's put in plenty of heat in those rear tires now. Macy Q across the line, put up a 19-3. Now Corky heading into the pits. Crazy Fish in the pits. Cornish across the line will start his hot lap. The next man across the line, I believe, should be Eagle, but he is going to be pulling into the pits this time.
Grunty.
Both the McLarens have a red flashing light. They are both coming in, as well as the Alfa Romeo of Matty. Macy Q should be coming in this time by. Camo has invalidated his lap, so we move on to Grunty.
Championship leader now in the final sector, 52-0 after the first two sectors. Down the second gear. Now onto this mini straight as he was flat out
runs a little
here.
wide on the exit.
Round and go up to the line, provisional pole. Doesn't, but it does go to
It's
18-1.
18-1.
Once again, they might be used tires for Grunty.
Tornado is already retired from the session in the pits. He has more than enough confidence to already assume he's going to make it to Q3, and I can't really blame him. He's 4 tenths up on Crazy Fish, and after that, the gap just grows by quite a bit. Cornish across the line. It's a 24-0. Doesn't get put up on the leaderboard, so he invalidated. He will put out another lap. Top speed of about 204 miles an hour down the pit straight. He's invalidated again. Cornish will probably be coming into the pits this time by. Off to Steffi, it's a 53-3 through the first two sectors. Second gear for the penultimate corner for the Ferrari. Out through the final corner for Steffi. Up the hill, opens the DRS and to the line. It's an 18-8. It's P11 for the Ferrari. Probably not where he wants to be right now, but he knows, and I certainly know, he can improve on that lap.
Camo next across the line.
He may be the next one, but he has invalidated his lap. I don't think he's going to be able to do much with it. He's just going to pull into the pits.
Cornish.
Oea with a 47-0. Definitely a warm-up lap from her.
Cornish coming in the final corner now. Oh, he's going in the pits. Is there anyone on a hot lap?
Well, we've got Macy Q, who's out of fuel in the final corner. Lucky for him, the closest guy is Steffi, who only just finished the second sector, who's probably coming in himself. Stygian already out again for another hot lap.
Yeah, I wouldn't be confident if I would retire in the pits of Stygian, as he is only P7 and only off 11th, which would knock him out of Q2. So he did do 2 outlaps, I think. He's starting a lap now. Tidy through the first couple of corners there. Nails all the apexes down the 3rd gear for turn 4, which I believe. Now onto the straight, open the DRS flap, shifting up the gears for staging. As he goes down now into 2nd gear, onto the straight again, as there is a couple of them in this track, smaller ones about it as well without DRS. When it comes up the hill now, as there's a lot of elevation changes on this track. Flip that out through this part of the track in the 2nd sector, down the 3rd gear, staging does short shift, 5/10 up on his last lap time. As he comes now, the 3rd sector, down to the final corner. Now flat out to the line. What will be for the Flying Dutchman staging, trying to chase down the championship leader Grunty. It's P3 for him, 17.7. That will see him safely through into Q3.
And while I was gone for the moment, Poea puts up P2. Absolutely showing off her pace tonight. Cornish to the line has invalidated his lap. He will go again. So we move on to the McLaren of Willem. What can he do coming out of the final corner now? Up the hill, opens the DRS into the line. It's a 17.9. It's P5 for the McLaren. Next one across the line, the Mercedes of Quirky. He found almost 4/10 in the first 2 sectors across the line. He gains even more time. It's P6 for the Mercedes, a 17.9.
Quick-ish on an outlap. Anyone on a fast lap? Quirky Turtle. He's on a flying lap.
No, he just did his flying lap.
Staffy. He's invalidated.
Cornish is invalidated. Camo did not put up a valid lap. It's telling me an 18.8, but it's not on the board, so we move on to... Actually, I think everybody here is either on an in lap or an out lap at this point. Jay Sleaze invalidated his lap.
Crazy
Cornish
Fish
looking
will
to
be the
put
first
up another
across the
lap
line
once
then
again.
to start a line lap. Toledo's still the only one to retire in the pits, but well now, as I said, that retires in the pits.
She seems to have quite a lot of confidence in her lap, and I can see why with the P2 lap that she did put up.
But Crazy Fish starting a lap now. As they're going into turn 1, a very fast corner is turn 1. Oh, it loses the rear end there a bit and slides through the corner, not ideal for Crazy Fish. But now down to...
Willamette retiring from the session as well. Your top 5 all satisfied with the laps they've got. Camo across the line with an 18.1. It's P8 for the Aston Martin. We go to Steffi through the final corner, now out up the hill, opens the DRS to the line. It's a 27.0. He's going to put up another lap. Cornish puts up P10. It's an 18.2. Will it be enough for him to be safe, though? Jay Slee coming through the final corner now. What can he put up? And it's an 18.0 for the McLaren. He is safe for now.
Cornish backs out of his lap. Eagle.
Well, he had no ERS to begin with. He couldn't really do much if he didn't back out.
Eagle starting the lap now.
18.3 is his best time.
The timings are a bit bugged here.
Yeah, sometimes it'll tell us that they're on a hot lap when they're on an out lap.
Okay, Eagle I think is on a hot lap, as it does look like they're pushing. They've recharged their battery and they're going for another lap. They're currently half a tenth down on their last lap.
Steffi's improved in the first two sectors, and across the line it's only an 18.5. It's P13 for the Ferrari.
Eagle still on a lap. He's up the hill. Still in the second sector now as he comes around this corner. A bit of sliding still going on for Eagle as they're about a tenth up on their last lap time. They go up the hill now in the third sector as they're going to come around the penultimate corner of the lap.
Breezy's coming to the line now, and it's a 17.7. It's P4. He should be safe. Macy Q also improved his lap, but it's not enough.
Now
Eagle
the driver
just
risk.
takes.
As there's people behind him, like Macy Q 6 tenths up on their lap.
Jay Sleeves retired from the session. Maddie out of the final corner. What can he do here? It's a 17.9. It's P6.
Under the bottom 5. That's Eagle out of qualifying.
That it is.
Camo out of qualifying as well. And that is Macy Q. Who's lost a car and they're out of qualifying.
Steffi's in the pits.
Out of qualifying. That is the bottom 5.
Crazy Fish is gonna make Crazy Fish is gonna make Q3 just by the skin of his teeth. 36 thousandths between him and Eagle. If you're in a spot, and if you're in Eagle's spot, you've got to wonder what could have been.
The lobby host knocked out of Q2 by just barely about half a tenth. But Tornado tops the session with an absolute stonker of a lap of the 17.6 for him.
And that was at the beginning of the session. Can you get up? Shh, not your mom.
Well,
hi.
With a good lap as well. Puts her in the Q3. Flint Dutchman Stygian tops his championship rival Grunty in the Q session. He'd be looking to carry that on into Q3 as he is a good bit behind Grunty and running out of races.
Your bottom 5 for this session: Eagle, Camo, Macy Q, Cornish, and Steffi. Your top 10: Tornado, Poyea, Stygian, Breezy, Grunty, Maddie, Willem. I believe Jay Slee was in that somewhere. I'll have to wait a moment to see the rest of the top 10. There we go. After Maddie, you've got Willem, Quirky, Jay Slee, and Crazy Fish.
Yep, once again another good session from Division 2 here. As it was very close to the end, but people did invalidate their laps, like Staffy and Cornish went into the pits, and that's them out of qualifying. That's unfortunate for them, as his AlphaTauri teammate Grunty, who is leading the championship, is in the Q3. Crazy Fish gets into Q3 by the skin of his teeth.
Only 2 different teams have both drivers in Q3, Red Bull and McLaren.
Stygian and Grunty won't be happy with that, as I do think they're pushing for the Constructors' Championship. I have not seen the standings for that.
Well, Williams currently leads. Genghis Logan, I'm pretty sure last race had P7, P8, P9, which isn't a lot of points, but it does help you in the Constructors, and any points is better than no points.
As now we enter the most important qualifying session, and the qualifying session you've all been waiting for, Q3, Who do you think will get pole position?
Well, me personally, Tornado has been an absolute tour de force all year in qualifying sessions. I don't think today is going to change that. I do believe Tornado shall take pole. Of course, there are other very capable drivers, among them most notably Breezy, Corky Turtle, both very, very good qualifying drivers, without a doubt. Stygian, who's just an overall monstrously fast driver. Poea, who before this week, I wasn't sure where she would be qualifying, and she has been in the top 5 in both sessions. So, if you ask me, she could probably take pole with how much pace she's been unlocking today.
Yes, as loads of people now come out for their first lap in the Q3 session. Grunty coming out. He'll be looking to extend his gap in the championship, so can he hold position? I can see Willem, Grunty or Tornado getting pole position. I do think Tornado is going to top overall though and get the pole position, as the last couple of races I've commentated on, he has shown great pace. And I think he will carry it on today, as he did in the Q2 session.
And here's another little interesting story I do want to bring up. Not related so much to this race, more just the F2 paddock. McLaren is without both of their drivers. They only have Willem right now. Jaisley is reserving today, and so is Willem. Cornet Star, usually the driver for McLaren, he is unavailable today.
They are very lucky to have a Flying Dutchman reserving for them.
I'm pretty sure they're both Dutch drivers, because if I remember, either Willem or Jace Lee are both friends with Stygian in real life.
I know Willem is. Stygian did say that to us the other week. But not sure about Jace Lee.
Yeah, I don't know. Poea coming towards the end of Sector 2 through turn 11, 10. It's a 52-2 through the first 2 sectors. She is absolutely flying on this lap. She's got 2 cars in front of her. Will one of these 2 end up giving her a tow inadvertently? Okay, maybe not. That Alfa Romeo got an absolutely smacking exit on the penultimate corner.
Grunty in the final sector.
To the line, though. It's a 17.5.
That's the fastest
lap
the
best lap of the session.
But Grunty not coming in the last corner.
17.7. Championship leader Grunty, he's invalidated his lap.
Has he? It's bugging. It doesn't say he has invalidated for me, but Stygian's on a flying lap. He's in sector 2.
Let's look for Breezy. He's also invalidated. So we'll go off to Quirky. He's coming through the final corner now. And Breezy pits. 17.9 for Quirky.
As we do see most drivers now getting into the high or mid 17s. As before in the Q1 session.
For Stygian through the first 2 sectors. He looks like he could take pole or get very close.
Comes with the final corner now, flat out to the line. He takes a bit of a blind through there to get the most speed out of the corner.
17.698.
It's another good lap.
Jace Lee with an 18.2. And Willem starts his hot lap now. Next one across line with Poea. Actually, she's diving into the pits. After him is Crazy Fish. Crazy Fish looks like he's giving a tow to Grunty. So Grunty's going to have even more speed. Across the line, it's a 17.8. Not enough. You know he's got to be kicking himself for getting the tow there through the final, out of the final, penultimate corner, through the final corner and up to the line, and he's still about over 3/10 off. Maddie's lap was a 42.3, definitely a warm-up lap. Next one across the line will be Stidgen. He isn't improving on his lap, but he doesn't have enough ERS, so he's probably coming in here. You move on to
Willem
the
is in the
McLaren
third
of
sector.
Willem, 52.6 through the first 2 sectors.
Comes through the penultimate corner. Can the Flying Dutchman still hold position? There's quite a few Dutch drivers in the league, I believe, but as he comes across the line now, it's only a 18-0 for Willem. He hasn't shown great pace in the last couple of sessions here, as he has done previously. But next to come across the line is Tornado, I believe.
It is Tornado. He's coming out of the penultimate corner now. Through the final corner, riding that inside curve, taking a very tight line to the finish line. To the line, it's an 18-0. Which normally you hear an 18-0 and you're thinking that's an absolutely phenomenal lap. But here it's P7. 18-6 for Maddie as he's P9. Almost 4 full tenths off the next driver.
When someone's asking for the Twitch link, I will send it to them.
In Discord or?
Discord, yeah.
Not much going on now that everyone's in the garage, and these two are definitely coming on in their in-laps.
He's on a lap.
In fact,
now.
Tornado's run out of fuel, and so is Maddie. So everyone now everyone is either in the pits or coming into the pits.
As it stands, Prix has provisional pole. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but
It's
I've
Poea.
done it right.
Poea. Yeah, Poea.
Poea. There you go. If he retires from the session,
Crazy.
why?
Wow. He may not have had another set of fresh softs. And I know for a fact if you don't have a fresh set of softs at the end of Q3, you're definitely going to be off the pace. Even if you improve, you're not going to be on the pace.
Everyone in the pits now has stayed down as a grunty so far, so like to stay like that. Stadium's showing great pace so far. Hopefully, maybe he can grab pole position. It's going to be an interesting battle this race so far between Grunty and Stidgen, as they will be right beside each other in the
and
grid.
the first one out of the garage is our current pole sitter. I don't know why she's come out so soon. There's still 3 minutes left. She could have waited another minute. Unless she's planning on burning some extra fuel on the outlap, but it doesn't look to be the case. Just as anyone in RSF1 want to know how to burn extra fuel, put it in third gear, full throttle, halfway, half pressure on the brakes. You will burn more than enough fuel so you don't have too much fuel for your final lap. Just one of those regular old days tips. Sink Diggles has rejoined the session. And oh my God, wait, she's not a... Okay, apparently it's telling me she's on a 5-minute lap. I obviously doubt that. She's on her out lap. Now starting her hot lap. What can she do? Run here. Does have mild traffic in front of her. The next driver in front is the Alpine of Tornado. Whether she catches him or not will depend on whether Tornado pushes on this outlap or not. He's going to have to if he wants to be able to put up a time. Up through turn 7 and turn 8.
There's just a minute left of Q3 session. People need to cross a line soon to start their flying lap of the session, but Grunty and
Tornado's let Poea through.
Stygian in the first sector if you want to ride on board with him.
Well, we're still on Poea. She's going to be the next one to cross the line and put up a time.
They're about a 10th up in their lap time, coming in the final corner now.
About coming to the line, what can she do? And it's a 17.408. Oh, and I switched to Stygian. He spins. He spins out of turn 8.
Quickly.
He's not going to be able to. It does not matter. He doesn't have enough time. He's going to be stuck with the time he's got right now, which is just a dreadful way for him to end the quali session.
Grunty only...
Breezy across the line. It's a 17.7. It's P3 for the Aston Martin.
Grunty isn't improving so far after the first sector.
And the checkered flag has dropped, which means whatever lap you put up now is got to be all or nothing. Matty improving almost 4/10 in the first 2 sectors. He's going to have to find more time if he wants to be any higher on the grid. Coming to the line.
Down on his lap.
What can he do? And it's P7. It's P7. It's an 18.0 for the Alfa Romeo of Matty.
Grunty's down on his lap time.
Dives into the pits.
Yep, Grunty's still down on his lap time, coming into the 3rd sector. And I don't think it'll be an improvement for him.
For Quirky. Grunty across the line. It's P2.
Get 3/10
He found 3/10. Tornado across the line. It's P3. I don't think anyone's going to take pole away from Poea. Willem has invalidated his lap. The last 2 that have a chance are Breezy, who is nowhere near his time, and Jay Slee.
Quirky's 2 tenths
out of the final corner for the McLaren. To the line, it's an 18.4. He does not improve. He stays P10, which means Poea gets her first pole position of the season with a 17.4, almost 2/10 ahead of the championship leader.
Very, very good lap time by her. Grunty does the qualify Stygian. That is very interesting.
I said towards the beginning of Q3 that we got to start paying some respect to Poea, and anyone doubting her now has been absolutely shut up right now. With a 17.4, she takes pole by almost 2/10 over our championship leader, Grunty, in P2. P3 Tornado, P4 Stygian, followed by Breezy, Quirky, Crazy Fish, Matty, Willem, and Jay Slee. McLaren not having the Q3 session they were looking for here tonight. Hopefully for them, they can make it up in the race. But I got to say, from a personal standpoint, I'm a little shocked with the recent pace she's been showing tonight. She definitely looked good last week and the week before, but tonight she is starting to look like a whole new woman.
I was going to take a break now for a couple of minutes before the race, so I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to go downstairs and get a drink. So I'll see you in a bit.
As for me, we will be taking a 2-minute silence in honor of Queen Elizababeth II.
Yeah,
I forgot to do this at the beginning of Q1, but I will be muting my mic now.
So will I.
Alright, we are
Rest in
back.
peace.
Corks, to answer your question, halfway brakes means you go half on the brakes, 100% on the throttle.
It's a formation applicant. Where leaving the way.
Away a grunty, tornado,
Oh, with
stitches,
well
breezy, quirky. Oh, did she?
And she's been hit. She's been hit.
Oh,
That's her disqualified.
boy. Yeah. She's been disqualified, and she's the only one disqualified. Oh, boy. Well, that's not good. That's definitely not going to be good. So, Poea, grunty, tornado, Stygian, breezy, quirky, crazy fish, Maddie, Willem, J. Slee, Eagle, Camo, Macy Q, Cornish, Steffi, Valache, Slytherin, me, Jangus Logan, Shane, Sink Diggles is your starting order. And in order of tires, you've got the entire top 10 on the mediums, Eagle Camo on the hards, Macy mediums, Corn Dog on the hards, mediums for both Steffi, Valache for Slytherin, medium for Jangus, and hards for both Diggles and Shane. And Tornado, you're a real one for helping her out. Unfortunately, you guys might want to be very careful on this race start with her being disqualified.
Spins. Keep listening to this, John.
Evening, Evo. How you doing, man? We now await the drivers to line up on the grid. Reminder that this race is brought to you by RSF1. You can catch all of our streams, past and present, on YouTube channel. Stitchin disqualified due to a misalignment on his grid slot. Cornish as well.
Set it for lights out here.
Jangus Logan. The grid is lined up now. 3, 4, 5 lights. And it's lights out and away we go here for the Portuguese Grand Prix. A lot of people with a pretty slow start compared to what I thought, but this is a helicopter angle.
Side by side with Prix in the turn 1.
Oh, very close. No contact from what I can see. They keep it side by side through turn 3. Tornado. Oh, we got a big crash in the back. What has happened? Oh, big, big, big. Oh. Back to the front. Breezy out of nowhere has gotten the lead. Or for a moment he did. Poea trying to defend for her life to keep P3 for now. As Breezy takes the lead out of nowhere from P5 all the way up to P1. Shane spinning out again. He's at the back now. At the back of the back.
As Breezy having 3 times gap off the lead all the way from P5. Great start from him. Now the pole setter down in P3. Still very close behind Tornado and Breezy. So she should be able to fight back. But Conte's well falling behind with a big train there with Sturgeon and Corky at the back of it.
Yep. 7-car train for the top 7. After that, you've got a train from P8 all the way down to P15 as you got Steffi and Camo fighting for position here. And it looks like Steffi's going to get the better of it as Camo's in the pits. So is Jangus Logan and Valache. Your biggest movers on this first lap. Your biggest mover, I should say, is Sync Diggles from 20th to P14. After that, it's Breezy up 4 spots. Cornish and Willem all up 4 spots from where they started. The biggest losers on this lap so far after the first lap are Crazy Fish down 6 and down 6 as well for Camo.
Not a good start from them. Able to make it through to Q3, did Camo. Had trouble spinning in the first qualifying session as well, so maybe the setup just isn't right for him. But Breezy still leading the way, pulling away a bit. The gap's now up to 5 tenths.
Poea starting to reel Tornado back in too. At the end of this lap, DRS will be enabled.
Breezy will be pushing to get out of that DRS of Tornado. Still has plenty of ERS, so...
And so far, Poea with the fastest lap of the race. Good camera angle, but she gets the move done with no DRS help. And she's back up to P2.
Good start to the race.
And Breezy spins!
Breezy round.
Breezy spins! So Poea takes the lead back. Just like that. I am absolutely shocked. Breezy continuing to just lose every position.
Oh, and she's still spinning.
And Shane's crashed out. What has happened to Shane? What's happened to Shane? And it's a safety car. Camo also spinning right out of the final corner of the track. And it might not be a full safety car. No, it's a virtual. The yellow dot signaling the speed trap on the pit straight made me think it was a safety car, but it's just a virtual. So this should help Breezy a little bit, but not a lot.
That puts Stygian up in the P5 and Grunty in the P3, so Grunty will be getting an even bigger gap now in the championship if it stays as it is, but I doubt it will. With another 30 lap of race in RSF1, anything can happen. Crypt Mythic in chat, welcome.
Welcome him, Crypt Mythic. We're still under the virtual safety cars. It's just ended, and we are back under green flag conditions here. And Willem is starting to push for P3. He's right on the gearbox of Grunty right now. And even though Tornado is in the DRS, he is losing quite a bit of time to Poea. So Poea did lose the rear end a little bit. I saw it for a second out of the hairpin.
As Ammo comes into the pits, that's an early pit stop for him. Starting in the mediums, does he have damage?
He's already pitted, and he's going to retire after 2
pit
stops. Could have
for a safety car.
3 laps. I don't know, man. If you're in his situation, the field's starting to spread out a decent bit.
Yeah, but someone just needs to crash and you're back in it.
Well, that could happen, but our Division 2 isn't a guaranteed shot to get a safety car in Div 2. Poea almost a full second ahead. As we've got the AI of Camo coming back out onto the track, these leaders are going to have to realize that they're going to have to take evasive action.
GL flag in Sector 1, he's at 4.
And good news, Camo's AI is off the track before they get to him.
Willem, who I haven't noticed this race, he's up to P4. He's had a good start. He's ahead of Stygian as well. 2 friends.
Stygian has dropped a decent bit off of Willem too. Stygian right now in no man's land. No DRS on him and no DRS for him.
As the race leader now is still in the DRS range of second place, so she will try and pull out of that. It's 9 times.
No, this time it's for Maddie.
Yep.
Maddie's around and he's back down to P13. Spun, I think, before the entry of turn 8. Maybe lost it in turn 7. Back to the front. Poea doesn't seem to be able to pull out the gap she needs to get out of the DRS. But she is pulling a decent gap in the middle section of the track on Tornado.
It's still 9 tenths to gap. We're going to have to deploy some of that DRS if she wants to get out of the DRS range. Although she can't really recharge as she is the race leader and doesn't have DRS on the car head. That's what is none. 40% DRS as Tornado has 38%. Stygian still dropped it back a bit. He's out of DRS from Willem. He's not in the DRS train anymore. Grunty's still there too with Tornado, but that's
yellow again. This time it's for Prix. What seemed like such a good race start for him is just falling off a cliff. Prix losing another spot to Jay Slee now. Jenkins Logan right behind him.
She moves out of the way for him. Not great.
He may have gotten out of the way to get the DRS from him. Coming out of the penultimate corner, Poea looks like she might have gotten out of the DRS of Tornado, which could be lethal for Tornado because Grunty is right behind.
And they move back up.
And she puts up another fastest lap.
It's been a very exciting race.
Change for position between Crazy Fish and Eagle. Crazy Fish gets P9 off the Alpine of Eagle. The more these two fight in front of him, the more...
That's for Breezy again.
Yeah. The more these two in front of Steffi fight, the better a chance he's going to have at getting position, or both of these positions. Back to the front of the pack. Breezy's now been passed by everyone on track. He is P18.
It's very unfortunate for him. Such a good
He's
call,
coming into the pits.
Such a good restart.
He gets a speeding penalty, and that should be the end of his race. Normally.
He hasn't retired yet, though.
No, so we're just going to keep our focus on the leaders as Poe is continuing to pull a gap. It's not a huge, she's not pulling out a huge gap, but she's got just enough of a gap to stay out of the DRS of Tornado. Or keep Tornado out of the DRS, I should say. As Grunty,
he's got a big slipstream down that straight.
We've got Cam Breezy cutting the corner so he stays out of the way of drivers coming in to turn 1.
The more they start the battle, the better for Prix. As now, Grunty has a run on Tornado. He's going to go round the outside now.
And Cornish almost lost it. Meanwhile,
Grunty
the other AlphaTauri, Grunty and Tornado are side by side. And Grunty gets the move done out of the hairpin.
Crown now pulling away to 1.7 seconds 6, but very clean battle from there, side by side through most of the first sector there. Grunty kept the clean one around the outside, good stuff from them, and a great overtake by Grunty. But now that's Willem up the back of Tornado as well. He'll be looking to get involved in this fight.
And if these three keep fighting, Stygian's going to get right back in the DRS. As we got another yellow, it's Sink Diggles. Breezy gets a 3-second time penalty. It is his second penalty of the race. He's off the track and he's lost his front wing. We're going to look at P2. We're going to see what Tornado can do. Can he get the move done?
He will have DRS again on the straight, but he does go wide.
Oh, Tornado gets a penalty and Poe has crashed. Oh, and she's on the track. Oh, and it's a crash. It's Macy Q out of the race. Oh, it's Steffi now. Steffi spins, trying to avoid it. I don't know what was she doing there. Macy Q's out. Steffi's got severe wing damage. Actually, no, I don't think he hit her at all. Crazy Fish nearly did, though. Eagle barely avoided. Breezy's retired from the session in the pits. Your race leader now is Grunty. Tornado's got the 3-second time penalty right as Poea spun and crashed. I am actually shocked at what I've just seen. Jangus is in the pits. This is a chance for him to catch back up to the leaders. He's on the hards. They can go to the end from here.
Breezy just needed to stay another lap. Would have been back in the race.
Well, no, he would have been a lap down still. He was over half a lap behind the leaders by the time that came out, before he even retired.
Body Biscuit, nice to chat. Everyone handing Grunty the win again. I've seen many tier 2 races. I've only been commentating for this is my third one now, so
to answer your question, buddy, it definitely seems like it. Grunty gets a speeding penalty. That could be huge. Corner stays out, and he's going to take the lead. As Eagle also stays out, so he will take P2.
Well, tire degradation is too bad around here, and the laps are so I reckon they could go 23 laps on the hards.
Oh, they can go a lot longer than that. If they even if they started on them, they can probably push it to lap 28. 28's about the furthest you want to go. Any further than that, you're risking a puncture. I was a commentator for ROM on Thursday, and one guy went 30 laps on the hards, and on the end of that last lap he was on the hards, his tire punctured through the final corner. May have been in the penultimate corner because he lost quite a bit of time. It was like a second and a half up on the guys behind, and then like only half a second ahead, but at the DRS detection point. So Tornado will take, so Cornish, Eagle, Tornado, Grunty, Willem, Slither and Me, Stygian, Quirky, Crazy Fish, Sink Diggles, Maddie, Steffi, Jace Lee, Hoea, Jengis, and Valache is going to be your restart order.
Tornado and Grundy, there was penalties that will be big at the end. Tornado only a 3-second time penalty, Grundy with a 5-second time penalty for speeding the pit, so William does have a big advantage here on the car restart. As Eagle and
Hards from here isn't easy. You can easily make it on Hards from here. My longest run I can do, the longest run I've done on Hards is lap 6. I pit on lap 6 after starting on softs, and I made it all the way to the end. By the end, my tires were at like 77%. I think my worst was at like 77%, but you can make it. Considering these guys have a safety car helping them out, and they pit at lap 10, they're gravy. They're absolute gravy.
Well, currently not P1 as Tornado going to have time penalties, and Cornish and Eagle have yet to pit. So looks good here for Willem, but can he keep within the 5 seconds of Grundy and the 3 seconds of Tornado, or maybe even overtake them on track? Battle them to help out his friend Stitcher, who will be seeking to get ahead of Grundy himself for the championship.
Of course, there are some other drivers here that could make some moves on this restart. You've got Stidgen and Quirky and Crazy Fish also on brand new hards. None of them with penalties either. Safety car should be coming in next time by. Valache and Jengis are a bit too far back.
It's going to be an interesting race this, as there is 22 laps left for those on the hards. I'm going to have to manage those tires to the end, keep them nice and healthy. The car yet to come in will be probably coming in on the next lap, this lap here. But 4 people out of the race so far, as the 2 Aston Martins, a Haas and Shane, who did join qualifying quite late, did get to set a proper lap time and was out of Q1, so not the best race week from Shane, but does do comps tomorrow, I believe, for the F3, or not tomorrow, on Wednesday.
F5. I was gonna say tomorrow's F5, F3
yeah.
is Wednesday.
Didn't see it.
Oh, never mind. There's quite a visual difference between the tires of Tornado and the Eagle. If you look at Tornado's tires, they look pretty nice and shiny still. Eagle's tires are pretty dull and bland looking.
Well, his rights seem to be a lot more shiny.
Safety car should be in this time by.
And what is Vullis doing? I think they've spun.
Who? Valache?
Yeah.
It's a possibility. I didn't see it. But safety car is in this lap. Cornish becoming the safety car. Oh yeah, he's definitely not trying to let anyone get a jump on him at all.
He's stretching across the track, weaving to warm his tires up on these cold hards, and they're very hard to warm late.
Oh, and it looks like Cornish is already gone.
Early.
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
And he backs the pack up again, and then goes again.
Yeah, he goes again,
but Eagle gets a run on him.
Alpine's got a massive jump on him, but so did Grunty. Grunty's already passed one. He might pass all 3 of these guys.
And he does.
Grunty, with an absolutely monstrous restart, has taken the lead just like that. wow.
Still has that penalty.
Tornadoes dive on the
side by side
inside.
with the Alpine. Tornado.
This is not a corner you want to be side by side in. They're touching. Willem up to P3 already.
And there's more contact than
heading into
Will
the hairpin
between Grunty and Tornado. Great race by these two.
Not going to give up on this lead. Fighting
still
tooth and nails.
Side by side. They've been side by side for the first and second sector.
Oh,
and he's
heading into turn 8, Simpson corner. You don't want to be side by side here. This could give Willem a very good shot at the lead too.
Willem now as well is getting involved. Side by side with Grunty now. There's
they touched. They touched. They almost crashed, but they touched. They keep it going.
Cornish as well now is getting involved.
I think Jay Sleem just rejoined the session, I think, or was that somebody else? I don't know, but Tornado's got the lead now, and it doesn't look like he's going to lose it.
Now it seemed to have settled a bit. There's a bit of space now between the drivers.
Just a hair. But don't think for a second that Grunty isn't going to try and come back and make a move again. Or Willem has got the most ERS out of everyone in the top 4. I almost said top 5, but that actually goes to Cornish. And we got another yellow. This time it's for Poea and Maddie. What has happened to these two now? You got, looks like could be a DRS train for P1 to P8 if Quirky can get back within a second of Stygian.
Staffing now with a 3-second time penalty.
That could hurt him later on. That DRS now enabled.
Tornado now building a bit of a gap. As Will follows closely behind. This is the battle between Sink,
retired from the session.
Douglas and Crazy Fish. Crazy Fish got the move done in the first sector. But Sink now has DRS, but he is a bit far back as Crazy Fish does get the better exit.
Yeah, he's not
very
gonna get him
short
here.
straight that for the DRS. That is Staffy, I think, retired in the pits.
Yeah, Steffi has retired from the session.
Stygian still down at P6. If you're looking to get past that Alpine of Eagle, the lobby host.
He's definitely got to get past him if he wants to make the best usage of these tires. Him and Cornish.
But Cornish will probably defend hard for his teammate. Cornish
say the same thing about Eagle for Tornado.
Yeah.
Tornado so far this season has not had the best of luck to start off. If I had to say anything about Tornado so far this season, he's definitely looking to rectify all of that tonight here at Portimao.
Still the top 6 very close together.
Top 6 in a DRS train. Quirky looking to try and catch back up to these guys. Try to get himself involved. Ditto, Slytherin, Crazy, Diggles, and Genghis. And Poea. For that matter, Maddie. I mean, the top 13 are not that spread out. You've certainly got some gaps in there, but the gap from P1 to P13 is less than 13.5 seconds. Everyone is pretty close, relatively speaking. As Valache gets a 3-second time penalty, it is his first of the race.
In this DRS train, penalties will be very devastating for Tornado and Grunty. If it stays the DRS train, it could put them back a couple of positions, which is unlucky for Grunty considering he is in the championship battle. I'm not sure where Tornado is in the championship, but that's
Slither and Me now gets a 3 seconds. And these 4 drivers who have yet to pit in this race, Cornish, Eagle, Slither and Me, and Sink Diggles, how much longer can they go before they decide they have to pit? Genghis Logan with the 3-second time penalty. He's currently fighting for a points position for P10. Oh, Tornado loses the rear end heavily out of the hairpin. This is going to give Grunty a huge chance to make a run on him. Grunty's probably thinking now that Tornado doesn't feel very confident anymore in the rear end stability.
Stitton's still not past Eagle. Eagle is backing him up a lot. They've been battling for a while now, and Stitton's now a couple of seconds behind Cornish and Willem, the guys he wants to be with. But
well, we got a 3-way fight for P9 and P10 between Genghis, Diggles, and Poea.
Poea's still fighting for the points after the not great start to the race. Well, they had a good start to the race, but then did spin a couple of times and had their incident. But now Poea going for a move on Genghis Logan. It's going to be 3 wide into turn 1. They're putting all the ERS. It's only 2 wide as Sink does back out.
Both of them up from P12 to P10.
Slither and Me and Crazy Fish will be loving this as...
Meanwhile, Stygian and Eagle side by side. We got a yellow in Sector 3. It's for Valache. We keep our focus here, though. Eagle on the inside of turn 7 and turn 8. It doesn't look like it matters, though. Stygian's going to get the move done. It's P5 for the Williams.
Eagle has done a good job for his teammate there, holding up the flying Dutchman Stygian, but Willem still in the DRS train with the top 3. He is yet to pick up a penalty, so he is currently first as it stands with penalties. So just needs to stay with the DRS of these guys, and he should be good for the rest of the race if he does seem to do so, as these two will be battling a lot anyway, so Willem should be able to stay in that DRS as long as he makes no mistakes and doesn't spin. So Willem in a really comfortable situation here.
Eagle's now in the pits. He should be going on to the mediums. Softs cannot go 15 laps here. He will go on to the mediums. He's going to come out of the pits P13, but he's going to be in plenty of clean air.
As Crypt Mythic seems to be enjoying the race so far as a spectator in the comments, saying what a race. I think many people could agree with him with this, as it is currently a 4-way fight for the lead. Stygian maybe if he catches up after his battle with Eagle. Good defended by him to back Stygian up for his teammate. But also not great for Stygian.
He's pulled over 1.2 seconds on Corky since passing him. Passing him and after Eagle pit that last lap. Question is now with Eagle pitting, do the other hard runners that have yet to pit, do they pit as well? Do they hold out for perhaps a safe or a VSC or something? Cornish, the first of these men, stays out. He's going to stay with these top 4 and continue to fight. Slither and Me does not dive into the pits either. Go up to Grunty. Grunty is right on the gearbox of Tornado. Poea once again with the fastest lap of the race.
But Grunty will have the DRS on Tornado, as he is now getting close and has a run on Tornado if he gets the slipstream.
Tornado did not have a great exit out of turn 4. I saw him lose the rear end ever so slightly.
Willem now is also up the gearbox, but has a horrible exit.
And Tornado loses it again. Gonna give Grunty a chance. He backs out of it though. Hoea gets P8 from Slither and me.
But Stygian's still 3 seconds behind the rest of the pack, so still currently a 4-way battle.
At all. Dirty air behind Eagle
But
definitely hurt him.
3
Cornish is a penalty now.
That's Willem and still in that lead, so it's still looking very good for him. As the top 2 still battling. There will be one flying Dutchman on the podium, hopefully, but will it be Stygian is the question.
On board with Grunty for this move. Tornado making a bit of a slow defensive move. Oh, it looked like they touched.
A lot of really banging.
Grunty gets the move done.
But Tornado has it
form for now. Tornado dives on the inside again. But that means he's going to lose out on DRS to Grunty, which means Grunty's going to get him another chance here. And Willem's getting a front row seat for all of this. Grunty takes the lead, and it does not look like Tornado can say anything about it this time. Right on board with Willem, who's also right behind these guys. Valache's crashed out. Valache has crashed out. Slither and me's in the pits, or coming out of the pits now.
Still yellow.
He is in clean air. Doesn't look like there's going to be anything of it. Yeah, no, he crashed way off the track. I don't think that's going to be anything. I got to tell you, a safety car there, though, would have been huge for Cornish. Absolutely huge for him and Sink Diggles.
Court summon race director now. It was terminal damage for Valois, so it was a crash.
Yeah, I think he may have just lost control of the car and crashed off.
And that now Tornado go for a move on Grunty. Near rams into the back of Grunty on the straight, but gets moved on into turn 1, but Grunty now coming back into turn 2.
Sink Diggles
on
spun.
the turn. He looks like for a move, but is a bit too far back. Has a run on now up the hill with the RS. Can he get past him at the end of the straight? It is a big
run on
straight here.
Turn 4. Got another yellow. It's Hoea again. He's in the grass. Grunty was in the grass just for a moment there. Oh, and
Grunty spins.
Willem spins Grunty out. Grunty recovers quickly, and he's going to keep going. Stygian, though, is going to get a chance to catch up to the championship leader. This is the exact thing Stygian needed. Meanwhile, Grunty's going, or not Grunty, sorry, Willem is going slow. He may have allowed Grunty to pass him out of sportsmanship because he knew the move he did was I don't think he meant to spin him out. He certainly didn't mean to. I can't believe he really. He might. Only if Grunty puts in a clip, but after watching the guy who spun him out, let him through. I don't know if he's gonna send in a penalty. But with that move that Willem has made, Tornado's in a very good spot to win this race now. Rides the sausage curb at turn 1, almost loses the car.
Was driving for Will.
Hoea speeding in the pits. Diggles also in the pits.
Well, with a 5-second time penalty, yeah.
What tires did these two go on? Hoea on the softs. Slither and me takes fastest lap.
All the top 3 still with penalties.
Diggles also on the softs. So these two are going to risk going the final 11 laps on softs. I can tell you can make it 11 laps on softs with my setup that I have for this track. I can go 11 laps on softs, but any longer and the tires will be out. So the track, it seems to be getting a bit more cloudy around here.
Top 3 still with penalties, so if Willem doesn't collect the penalty for spinning Grunty out, he will.
We got Hoea again losing it in the first before turn 3.
But
don't think she's got damage.
Stygian is now back into DRS off the pack.
Cornish is in the pits.
Stygian is back into DRS off the rest of the pack. But he's now back outside it again after the strip.
And Willem's got a penalty. Willem has a penalty.
This is crucial for Stidgen now.
You're exactly right, Connor. You're exactly right. This is going to be a huge opportunity for Stidgen if he can keep up with these guys and get into the DRS. But after that incident between Willem and Grunty, Grunty spins again! Grunty spins again! Poea with another 3-second time penalty.
But that's even better for Stidgen now. His championship rifle's now down in the P6 with a penalty. But all the people behind him do have penalties, except Eagle, who is a bit far back from Grunty though. So Stidgen will be smiling under that, or in front of that screen. As championship rifles down to P6.
And Poea's retired from the session in the pits. Just an unfortunate day to her race after the way it started. Definitely not the way you want to see someone lose out on the lead and everything that followed. Stidgen right now is 4 seconds back on Tornado. If he catches him by 1 second by the end of this race, he could be standing on the top step of this podium tonight.
There's still 2 Dutchmen on the podium. Can it be a 1-2 for them though? That's the question. So Tornado with 3-second time
in order for it to be a 1-2, Willem would have to catch up to Tornado by 2.6 seconds. They have the same amount of penalties, both with 3.
You never know. There's been a few spins now. Tornado could end up spinning like Grunty, but that
Diggles takes fastest lap at 19.9.
Those fresh softs for Sig, they seem to be working well, but will he? The gamble pay off by catching up the rest of the pack. I see he's a bit too far back. It's about 20 seconds a gap between him and 10th. So I don't.
Stidgen needs to get in the DRS of Willem. I think that's the most important thing right now. He needs to get in the DRS of Willem, or he's gonna. I don't know if he's gonna have much of a shot at the win.
He is flashing and running out of ERS. He's only got 8%. 6% down going into turn 1. He's just getting the DRS and charges back.
Grunty takes P5 back from Crazy Fish, at least provisionally. Cornish takes fastest lap. It's an extra point for the AlphaTauri team and driver. Track is getting very dark now.
Will we see a
Could
bit
there
of
be rain? And if we do see rain, will it be enough to affect the drivers?
But there's been a lot of people out of this race now. 7 people have retired from the race. A couple of them in the pit lane as they felt that there's no point in racing anymore, so they couldn't get the point. But
yes, warnings check. Okay, Connor, check the warnings for Tornado, Willem, and Stidgen, and Quirky if you feel up to it.
Okay.
This track is getting very, very dark very quickly.
Tornado, since he got a penalty, he's got another 2 warnings.
So Tornado's got 1 more warning. He's going to have to be very careful on this track. Very careful. Next, let's do Willem.
Willem has got 1 more warning since his penalty.
Okay, so he's still got 1 warning to play around with if he wants to keep P3. How are we looking for Stidgen and Quirky?
Stidgen's on 1 warning.
Stidgen on 1 warning for the whole race. Okay, wow. Quirky.
Quirky.
Sink Diggles with the 3-second time penalty. Cornish gets a 3-second time penalty.
Corky also has the 1 warning.
So Corky and Stygian on 1 warning. 1 warning plus a penalty for Willem. 2 warnings and a penalty for Tornado. 1 warning, or 1 penalty, 2 warnings for Tornado. I don't know if I said that correctly the first time. We don't see rain yet, but Muddy did say in the chat rain was expected.
It does look very dark in the clouds now, but will it be enough rain to maybe put it on enter condition, or will the driver step into a Lando Norris in Sochi? But only gamble that this time the rain will be a bit lighter.
The only driver who could probably do a Lando Norris at Sochi is right now is Cornish and Sink Diggles. Those guys have soft tires. They're going to have the most grip on the rain, which sounds kind of bizarre to say, but it is the truth. Back to the gap between the leader and Stygian. It's 3.7 seconds. Stygian needs to find 7/10 in these final 5 laps when it comes
Cornish
to the line.
now has a run on the Jenkus.
That he does. I was looking earlier. Jengus on pretty old, hard tires. Cornish still got pretty good grip in those softs. I think he's just going to wait to overtake him on the pit straight. If Tornado wants to have any chance, he's going to have to push. He's going to have to be careful again. Only 1 more warning is all it takes for him to lose another 3 seconds on a time penalty.
As Cornish with the DRS, he's making the move on Jenkus looking before he reaches a corner. Nearly 2
before he
lengths
even reached
of a car
the starting line, let alone the corner. I mean, man, he just had absolute flyer.
But gaps are between the leaders now, as none of them are within DRS of each other. Penalties could still have a big impact on this race.
No one's really fighting for position outside of Cornish and Jengus. And Jengus might not be able to keep up with the AlphaTauri of Cornish. Maddie's not far behind Jengus either. Rain in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. We could have rain on the final lap or 2 here. Then it'll just come down to who can control the car the best.
Yes, Cornish now pulled away 2.5 off Jengus Logan, so they won't be battling anymore. Penalty is still going to play a big impact in the top 3, I do believe, but because Willem has 3-second time penalty, Stygian 2.2 seconds off Willem, but not in the time zone to overtake Tornado off penalties.
As of right now, it's looking like Tornado should be able to hold on to the lead. He's got 3.5 laps left in this race. We got a yellow in sector 3. It's for Diggles.
As Marty now is closing the gap to Jengus Logan.
We got a yellow in sector 2.
Marty with a 3-second time penalty though, as I was looking a bit, Marty.
Riding on board with the cars. Does not look like there's any rain yet coming down. Willem with another 3 seconds. That is huge, because if we look at the leader gap, Willem might lose out. Will, at this rate, lose out on P4 to Quirky. Meanwhile, Stygian is less than 4/10 off of Tornado now. At this point, I don't know if Tornado has much of a choice on whether he should push or not. And if Willem gets in front of Tornado, Willem might hold up Tornado, and Stygian might catch them both.
As soon as he got back inside the DRS, that's unfortunate. He got a penalty. So he will have to overtake him, then pull away 3 seconds. So that's going to be a hard gap the pool for Willem. So
he's
I
certainly
don't
not
think
going to be able
he's
to
gonna
do
win
it.
this
They're on
race.
very old hards. It's the end of the race.
Unless
to the line,
Tornado
it'll
makes
be
a
2 to
mistake,
go.
I don't see it happening. He is catching him a good bit though, the last couple of laps, but I don't think he has enough time to pull away the 3-second gap unless Tornado spins or they have an incident.
Certainly, Willem's going to have DRS on Tornado here. Willem just put up his best lap of the race.
Stidgen will be praying that those two battle each other, and
oh! Tornado went wide in turn 2, and Willem's just going to take the lead just like that. And now all eyes are on Stidgen.
As Willem runs wide now too, picks up another warning, I think.
Probably. This is the worst. There we go. Right now, there is about a lap and a half left in this race. Stidgen is closing in on the top 2. As much as Quirky's trying, I don't think he's going to catch Stidgen, but he should be able to catch at least one position here. Grunty not far behind him, but he's got that 5-second penalty.
Willem now still trying to pull the gap away from Tornado. He's pulled away seconds gap, and that's
Tornado's off the track.
He's got
Tornado's
a puncture.
Punctured? Oh no! 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 Oh, the humanity! Oh, and he bumps into Grunty. Tornado with just a lap to go.
And that's Stidgen's going to win the race.
Yeah, with that, Stidgen should be able to win the race. He's just got to keep himself calm, cool, and collected, and he should very well pick up P1 here tonight.
Drama at the end of this race.
Tornado was looking good for a win here. Stidgen was catching a bit, and now Tornado's going to have to pit on the very last lap of the race. Cornish now passing him. Jengis, Matty, soon his own teammate Eagle will pass him.
And Muddy Biscuit giving his view on the puncture, as he does say, the front hard would be hard.
Check penalties, yes. Penalties. 6 seconds for Willem, nothing yet for Stidgen or Quirky. 5 for Grunty, 0. 6 for Cornish, 3. 6, 0, 3, 3, 0, 3. Willem now starting the final sector. He's going to have to hope for a miracle to get this win.
He's going to have to hope Stidgen makes a mistake.
Because right now it looks like right now Quirky could take P2 from Willem. He needs to get a 1/10.5, 2/10 on him. Coming through the final corner, though, for the final time across the line provisionally, Willem will win.
And
but after penalties, it's going to the Flying Dutchman of Stidgen. Finally wins a race. P3 goes to Quirky. Grunty across the line. It goes to Crazy Fish, though, for P4. P5 for Grunty. Not the best of days for him, but not a terrible day either. Cornish, P6. First points of the season for him. Jengis Logan, P7. P8, Matty. P9, Eagle. P8, or P7, I should say, for Eagle after penalties. So Jengis, P8. P9 for Matty. Tornado coming through the final corner. The absolute agony of defeat. Goes P10.
What a
Your
race.
non-points finishers are as follows. Slither and me, Jace Lee in P12 almost loses the rear end out of the final corner. Almost entirely lost the rear end, and Sink Diggles has a puncture on the final lap. So we've had punctures on these final lap and a half of this race. And the rain has started, which is just going to further complicate things for Diggles as he's losing the rear end. He's about to get caught by Willem's AI.
That is unfortunate for Tornado as he comes into the chat now saying he cannot believe it. Very unfortunate. The last lap and a half, it was looking like a certain win for Tornado, but
certain podium at the least. Diggles crosses the line P13, and Stidgen is your race winner. He's going to catch Grunty by 15 points today. Cornish driver of the day. I would not argue that after the way he drove today.
And Tornado says he got it off a piece off the Prix.
Wow, that's just absolutely awful way for a man to lose out on a win or the minimum of podium.
Stigin is the win, but top 3 podium probably not confirmed yet, as Willem might be under investigation for a penalty with a collision with Grunty earlier on in the race. So Corky could end up stealing P2.
I don't imagine that Grunty will submit a penalty for that. I mean, he let him through, willingly let him through for that after that spin he gave him. He might. I don't know Grunty that well. I'm not Grunty, so I can't confirm it, but... So let's invite our podium finishers.
He might have given the position back, but he still slowed down Grunty and, like, cost him time, so...
If anyone, he slowed down, well, no, I think Stigin. And then he pulled away from Stigin. But your top 3, Stigin, Willem, and Quirky Turtle.
Well, do I get interviews done?
Yeah, interviews.
We'll get Stigin the race winner in. Or do we want to get the race winner in last?
Get all 3 of them in. Get all 3 of them in if you can.
Okay, it just kicked me out before I got to invite them, hang on.
I invited Quirky. Let me get Stigin.
We can get Tornado in as well if you want. Maybe, because like, he would have got a podium. Quirky, if you want to include your audio.
Well, we didn't see debris on the track, Corks, but he may have seen debris on the track himself.
I'm gonna get Stigin in now too. And who is the other podium? Willem?
Willem, I don't know if we can interview because he's on PlayStation.
Alright, yeah. Corky, have you included your audio?
I have, mate, yeah.
It might be a P2 as well, because Willem might be under investigation for a Grunty. Spinning him. Stigin in as well.
Well, as commentators, we don't want to speculate on anything, so...
Yeah.
Cross that bridge when it comes.
So,
right. You can go ahead and interview Quirky.
So, you had a good qualifying. I didn't actually get to see your race start because I was focusing on the front 2, but if you want to give us a rundown of the race, you can do.
Yeah, sure, so the qualifying was okay. I didn't feel like I had the pace here. There's definitely the 4 or 5 people quicker than me here, so I kind of qualified where I expected to. Regarding the race start, I got a terrible start. I think Matty got the jump on me, so I kind of stuck it around the outside. And then obviously, I think it was in turn 2, he had a spin, so kind of went around the outside of him there, and it caused a bit of a backup behind him. So I had a bit of a gap there, which was, kept quite safe. All I had to do was stick with the guys in front. Stigin had a lot more pace than me, just pulling away from me all race. So tried to stick with it best I can, but it was quite a race for me. Like I say, safety car come out pretty much just the right time, starting on the mediums, switching to the hards, running them straight to the end. So yeah, quite a nice race for me for a change.
I want to get your view on the Grunty incident, if you did see it when Willem collided. Do you think that Willem should get a penalty, even though he did give the position back and cost himself about 2 to 3 seconds?
I didn't see anything myself, but it's a tough one. I guess it's just leave it to Stuart to see what they come up with. Yeah, I guess everyone's clips their incidents and see how they get on from there. But yeah, I'm not too sure what went on with them myself. So yeah, I guess the stewards will find out, and then I guess we'll find out by next race. So I've not got much to add to that.
Well, the next track we are at is Great Britain. What do you like around that track?
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite circuits. Pace-wise, I've got no idea where I stand yet. So I guess we'll do some TT and then usual try and get a bit of practice in if I can. Hopefully, make top 10 again next week. But yeah, I'm hoping to be thereabouts. So we'll see. People are really starting to improve now. Like Tornado's just looking rapid. Cornish today, he was rapid as well. So a bit unlucky. I think he had a spinner. He had an incident, but he was really unlucky. But yeah, I guess I've got to do a bit more practice, try and find a bit of pace.
And from me, Corky, you had a pretty quiet race. You didn't really make any big moves. You didn't make any mistakes either. You got P3. In my opinion, you had a great race. Congratulations on P3, my guy.
Cheers, thanks very much. Yeah, it's quite nice to have a race where not much goes on. I know it sounds a bit sad, but yeah, it's quite nice where you can just focus on your driving, just consistently putting the laps in, even though you're not making. I don't think I made one overtake. Oh, I tell like Tornado when he went off on last lap. I think it was our second to last lap. That's the only move I made. But I think he was actually giving way on that one, so.
For sure. And we move on to our race winner, the Flying Dutchman of RSF1, Stygian. You didn't have the qualifying you were probably looking for, but you made up for it more than anything, putting it on the top step of the podium for, I believe, the first time this season. How are you feeling, my guy?
Well, I delighted to start off with. P1. Yeah, after last week, I really wanted to bounce back. And I did, so I'm happy with that.
You certainly did. I was going to ask. My next question was actually going to be about that. But continue.
Yeah, no, qualifying wasn't great. I messed up on the final run, so all on me. I was about a 10th up, would have put me P2, but it was what it was. Got disqualified on the formation lap because I overshoot the grid slot. Meant I had to start on cold tires, so dreadful start, and then I lost out on the DRS train. So up to that point, only mistakes on my side. I just couldn't get the close up to that DRS train. I was using my ERS. I was running out constantly, and then safety car came. I got backed into Quirky by his teammate on the restart. He left about like 10 car width to the next car ahead, so that meant I had to lose out on the DRS train straight away once again. And I was just chasing every lap the entire race, and somehow on penalties I managed to win this race. I got it for Tornado that he got a puncture. He had amazing pace all weekend, or all day. But yeah, P1 for me. I'm happy. I'm delighted.
And speaking of last week, after last week you looked on pace to put up a podium, crashed out with only a few laps remaining, and now you're on the top step. How is your team feeling now that you guys both finished with good points? How are the boys at Williams feeling about today now?
Well, last week we had a good chat in the team garage. Let's put it that way. But yeah, this week, we put that behind us and we looked forward once again. We made some agreements on what to do and what not to do, and I think we're very happy with the result. It's solid points once again for the team, and looking to conquer the combined constructors, F2 constructors, and the F2 title, driver's title. So I think it's going all right now.
I can imagine it is. Get your car. You are the Williams. There we are. Okay, next race is at the historic Silverstone circuit in England. It's not a home race for you, unlike most of this server. How are you feeling about Silverstone?
You know, I always say all the British people sweat this track. I don't. I don't sweat any tracks, to be honest. I always somehow feel on the back foot going into this race, but then I always do all right. So I like the track. I believe it's a sprint round as well. I'm not quite sure. I believe it is. So yeah, I'm excited for the track. We'll see how I do. I can imagine all the British people sweating this track. So I'm not having many hopes for a podium or anything.
Well, from me, I hope for the best of luck for you and for you, Quirky. That'll do it for me. I have been your host, Days Freak, the American voice of RSF1. Good day, good night, and goodbye.